Hello and welcome to 5 Steps to Battle Endpoint Cybercrime with KACE. Today's webinar is sponsored by Quest and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. Not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have dedicated Q&A at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. The Q&A panel is also the place to let us know in the unlikely event that you run into any kind of technical issues. Browser refresh will fix most audio, video, and slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know there in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. Second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources today. There are 2 PDFs from Quest. There's a 5-page paper on 5 steps to battle endpoint cybercrime with KACE, and another paper on securing your endpoints. So I highly recommend that you check both of those out. You can also find links to the Actual Tech Media Guerrilla Guide Book Club and the ATM Event Center, which has our calendar of upcoming webinars. So I encourage you to access all of those resources now and throughout the event and share them with your friends and colleagues. Third, at the end of this webinar, we will be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. Official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found again in your handout section. Just scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. Finally, one of the best benefits of an event like this is the opportunity to ask a question of our expert presenters. So to help encourage your questions, we have a special additional prize for you. That's another Amazon gift card. This one for $50 for the best question. At the end of the event, we'll look at all the questions, pick out the very best one, and contact that prize winner. And with that, let's get to today's fantastic content. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our speakers. Today with us, we have Ken Galvin, who's Director of Marketing for KACE Unified Endpoint Management and Data Protection at Quest. And we have Timo Weberskirch, who is Sales Engineer at Quest. So Ken and Timo, welcome to the event.
Hey, thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Well, great to have you. Great to have you both here. And Ken, why don't you take it away?
You got it. Thank you. Hey, hi, everybody. Welcome to 5 Steps to Achieve Security Compliance with KACE. My name's Ken Galvin, and I'm a director here at KACE by Quest. And with me today is Timo Weberskirch, who will be giving you a hands-on demonstration of the 5 steps. But before he starts, I want to ask you a question. Where's your data? Well, it's in a lot of places, right? The cloud, data center endpoints, user endpoints, non-user endpoints. I bet if you did a survey of how all your data is accessed by employees and customers and cybercriminals, you know, what the most common ways that data is accessed would be, I bet the number 1 way in the survey would be endpoints. The number 2 way would be endpoints. Number 3, 4, 5, 6, endpoints. You know, computers, servers, Chromebooks, iPads, phones, printers, power supplies, projectors, HVAC controllers, battery backups, alarm systems, security cameras, electronic signage, point-of-sale devices, network devices, and all those gazillion IoT devices out there, which just surpassed in numbers the amount of computers out there. And every device hitting your network is an attack vector. You don't need a survey to tell you that, right? So what? So if you don't know what endpoints are hitting your data, you can't manage the endpoints. If you can't manage your endpoints, you can't manage the security of your data. Data gets in the wrong hands, ransomware attacks, data breaches, you know, resulting in customer and employee data being stolen and available on the dark net, or damage to your brand, all that nasty stuff. And with the shift to work from home, I mean, any last vestiges of a false sense of security by anyone, if there is anyone, who still thought that they had a nice perimeter around their IT environment is long gone. So IT admins are managing remote employees who are using a variety of different company-owned and personal devices. They're downloading and installing software from wherever. And because every device hitting your network is an attack vector, the bad guys are taking advantage of the current lack of control caused by this flood of unknown devices hitting our networks from practically endless amounts of unknown places. So yeah, we're dramatically more exposed to risks, but it's not as much new problems as much as compounding existing known problems. But if you're practicing good IT security practices and now extending them, you're dramatically less exposed. And the good news is this: most of this is not rocket science or new stuff. It's not like there's an evil genius who's sitting in a bunker somewhere developing a new way to introduce ransomware or to cause a data breach. A lot of it is just basic IT hygiene. And the good news is if you take care of your foundation, endpoint management, with good basic IT hygiene and automate it, the bad guys will go after someone else. And the great news for you today is that Timo will show you how to automate cybersecurity at the place where all attacks start, endpoints. So Timo, it's all yours, sir.
Thank you very much. And once again, good evening from me. Sorry for my last name and my dialect. I'll give my very best today to explain you the 5 steps to achieve security compliance with our beloved KACE solution. I will do that mostly live. So I personally am a technician and I hate PowerPoint. I guess most of you do so. So let's jump around. And of course, I need to first show you a few slides and then we are coming to the nice live interaction. So we'll start with 3 numbers here. And I do not go to read them through to you. I guess all of you have seen such kind of numbers, but what you can take away from this slide is that there's an expensive risk and many organizations and many more new pieces of malware every day who can be affected to your endpoints. And we want to secure them. And with that, we've got a KACE solution. And if you want an elevator pitch of what KACE is, it is a set of software products which helps you to manage every connected device and improve the end user experience. In short, we are covering the whole life cycle of a device, of an endpoint. But what is an endpoint? Ken already told you that there are millions, bazillions of devices out there. So it can be a smartphone, a laptop, a printer, a USB stick, whatever. So on all the devices there are data, and we want to manage these devices. So all starts with the provisioning. When it comes to provisioning, we are standing in 2 different scenarios of managing devices. We've got modern device management, where we do things like zero-touch deployments, Apple DEP, Android zero-touch. And we've got traditional operating system deployments, where we can do things like scripted installs, image-based installation, so where we're doing a formatting of the hard disk and installing a fresh operating system. While doing that, we should cover user-side migrations, we should support all our business sites, and we want to automate drivers so that if we are creating a traditional image, we don't need to have a specific image for all our devices. For modern management, zero-touch OS deployment, there's also a new technology called Autopilot, which we definitely support and you will see later on. If all the devices have been provisioned, we want to manage them. So we need to discover existing devices or network devices, which are maybe dumb in our current eyes, but with a bit of informations we can scan from the network devices, we might be able to manage them a better way. So we need to discover what is on our network and we need to get an inventory of all these devices. We need to know what kind of vendor profiles we can roll out or modern GPOs called CSPs. We should do a software and asset management so we can see what kind of softwares are out there. How many assets do we have? Do we have some mobile phone contracts, SIM cards? What form factor are these SIM cards? Serial numbers, pins? There are millions of data you need to process in your daily business. And we want to give you a single point of glass where you can see all these information stored. Also, you need to deploy your standard tasks like software distribution and have some reports if the C-level comes around and asking, why are you so expensive sitting around all day? And we want to secure these machines. So you need to have a comprehensive patch management, a best case in automatism, so that you just click on a report and can show how productive you were that day. You want to encrypt all the disks. So if your workforce is mobile or even stationary, the disk needs to be encrypted to have your data secured. That's a minimum standard you should do. A nice plus would be also vulnerability scanning. So if you do the basics like disk encryption and patch management, you can get yourself a plus by enabling vulnerability scanning. Of course, you can configure the device with Firewall or antivirus integrations. And all that would be nothing without interacting with our end users. So we need to service these devices. We should give them a service desk where they can connect to if there are issues or questions. Maybe your users are wanting to get self-service, so they can connect to a portal, reading through knowledge base articles, or doing scripts or software installations themselves, which you have approved or need to approve. And of course, everything would be nothing without mobile access, so there's a mobile app available to do all that thing. If we are looking to our 5 steps to battle these endpoint cybercrime with KACE, we are now officially ended the boring part with the PowerPoint and going into the live environment. So the first step is automate your inventory management. And some of you may have already seen that on my other screen. There's a web browser showing you our KACE Cloud solution. The KACE Cloud solution is our modern management approach. So we are supporting all modern operating systems like macOS, Windows, Android, and iOS, tvOS, iPadOS. All these have APIs available where you can manage these, so you do not need to install an agent. And you will see a nice overview. If you just click on device, you will see how many devices are enrolled, how many are currently not responding, how many devices are compliant. So having all our configured policies and settings apply to that device or not compliant. And of course, some nice filters down here or more detailed filters on the left. So for example, you can search for rooted devices or not. If you click on a device, you can see all the detailed information and can take your first management actions. Of course, there are also devices which we want to manage traditionally. Traditionally, in our eyes, means that we are installing an agent. An agent can do all the classical IT administrative stuff like doing some registry tweaks, deploying some scripts, but also doing the good old patch management with third-party patching, operating system patching, and delivering an inventory which might be more complex than just what the modern APIs gives you. And if you are a Linux or Raspberry fan, there's no even modern management approach for these operating systems. So this is still a traditional management. Please don't understand as traditional as bad or modern as good. Both have their valid reason to be on the market and be used on a daily manner. And we want to combine these two. So this is a modern approach, what you have seen so far. And the traditional approach is within our KACE systems management appliance. You've got a nice dashboard seeing already first informations. And you can click to the inventory and see more details here as well. So you can see your Windows notebooks, your macOS devices, your Nextcloud Ubuntu Linux servers, or even your QNAP NASes. So if you go briefly over these devices, you will see all devices will have a history, a nice summary, and different sections. So for example, on my Windows Dell device, you will see in the hardware section what kind of a model it is, how many RAM it has, the warranty information based on the shipping date and shipping country, and you see the reason why I'm sitting on a MacBook right here. No support left. You can also see the operating system details down to the release, drive encryption technology, battery informations, and all these values can be grouped, searched for, and reported on. So for example, you can build a filter for all devices where the battery health is below a certain level, and of course it's a laptop device. And if it's below a certain level, get yourself an email and try to replace them over the warranty which is still active. Also, you can see the installed programs and recent changes, so you will have a quick track of what has happened to the device and what not. And as you can see, today Microsoft Edge has been updated. If the inventory is not enough, you can extend the inventory with so-called custom inventory rules. This is a benefit of traditional management. So for example, you can read out the event log and report yourself the last 3 shutdown messages from the event log. You can see which user shut it down or restarted the device. If we look to my MacBook, same look and feel. History, summary, hardware informations. You can even see the monitor I'm currently looking into. You can see the operating systems informations. You can see battery level, drive encryption, everything there. And of course, the installed programs and recent changes. So you do not need to be a Mac or Apple expert to manage and see all the details needed for your daily business. You can also check your Linux servers the same way. And you can also add any network device which is in your network. We are supporting SNMP, SSH, and WinRM, so you can connect to these devices, read out informations. You can, for example, for SNMP, build your own mappings between a MIP and our database fields. And then depending on the device, you can get multiple informations like what is that for model, what is the serial number, what is the operating system, firmware version, how long is it on. And so you can compare all your QNAP Nest system through all your sites and getting the firmware versions and can compare them in a report. For every device we have in our inventory, we are also creating an asset. So you can attach invoices to that, add location informations. You can do subtypes. For example, if it's on storage or if it's handed out, who has given it out to whom, and so on and so on. Many, many options with your inventory. But key step number one, keep your inventory up to date and automated. All the machines, whether modern or traditional, will check in on a time frame, so they will turn on, connect over the internet, no VPN needed. It will be automatically connected to the depending tool, and these tools can even communicate with each other. So, for example, if we look to my MacBook, we will see that this device is what we call a co-managed device. So it has a traditional agent installed for third-party patching, and it has the modern approach to do all the modern stuff like factory resets, VPN enrollments, all that which is easier, and you do not need to write a script for that. Coming to the next step, and remember, if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. I will have some time at the end to answer all your questions, and today's a good time. The sun is shining. I've got nothing to do this evening. Please ask your questions. Step 2, automate patching and vulnerability scanning. Often said, if you've got all your devices in your inventory, you want to do the patch management. So for mobile devices and for macOS devices, it's very easy. It's a modern management approach. So you can mark your device, click on the specific operating system option and click check for OS updates if you want to do it manually. Of course, you can set policies which exactly describe how you want to patch these machines. If you want to use Windows 10 or Windows 11 with modern management, you can build the so-called custom profiles, the CSPs, which are replacing GPOs over time. So you see, you can build policies for all the sectors, and of course, you can configure Windows Update here. But wouldn't it be much better to have your own catalog of operating and third-party patches? Yes, I think it is. And we can do that with our traditional management. So we've got a whole patch management section here with a huge catalog of third-party patches and operating system patches. And you can see, you can sort them by compliance, install status, missing, if it's staged or not, how big it is. And you can get the full control of missing or installed patches. You will see, for example, that my MacBook has patched a lot of things. And just as an example, if you click on a patch, you'll get all the details in here. You will see what patches has been superseded, which device have needed it, when it was patched. So my MacBook patched today. And you see even the file name and the size and the compatibility. And a promise is if you click on the name, there will be a new tab which will always redirect you to the vendor release notes. Patching operating systems and third-party applications is nice, but not everything. We can also do the Windows feature upgrades. So we've created a separate function for that you do not deploy these by accident. And by accident could mean that you are upgrading from Windows 10 to Windows 11 or to a whole new feature build where you need to explain some new functionalities to your end users, like the beautiful weather bar and the taskbar. Every admin should know what I mean. So there will be nice questions. What are these new features and what can I do with that? So this should be scheduled. So you can build up your catalog. You can create schedules where patches are getting preceded. So the files will be on the system. And if you want to do the upgrade, if you have trained your users, you can directly kick off the installation and there will be just a short downtime for the end users. Same, by the way, for Linux. So if you're using Linux systems like I do with my personal Nextcloud, you can install our traditional management agent and keep your system up to date with that. So it will definitely report your inventory. You can do schedules here as well. You can detect and deploy patches based on the configured repositories within the operating system. They will report on that, and you can decide whether or not to install these updates. Or if you're lazy like me, you can build an automatism that is getting installed once a week. If you're using Dell, we can also do Dell hardware updates. So we are supporting a few applications of Dell, firmwares, BIOSes, drivers, and all these can be patched as well. Be careful with that. Here's a technician speaking. If you want to upgrade all your network or video drivers around your network, think about that. If you update a video card, video driver, that the monitors are flickering, network will drop the network for a second. So you can do that, but make a plan with that. Works like a charm, but your end users might not love it. If we've got installed all the patches, we can do oval scans. Ovals are vulnerability scans, so known vulnerabilities are getting listed and imported into our catalog, and you can scan your devices for their compliance. And as you can see, I'm very bad in keeping my devices compliant, so if you want to double check what's going on my Nextcloud Server 2 here, we can scroll down, we will find all the vulnerabilities listed here, and you can see the details if you click on one. I'm just picking one, I do not even know what that is. So Ubuntu is installed, that's true, it's an Ubuntu 18.4 LTS, and an Xorg package is affected and needs fixing. So I need to install an update to the Xorg package and on all my 3 Linux servers. I'm bad in updating my Linux servers, sorry for that. Having your machines running, reporting to your inventory, and keeping them up to date with patching, third-party patching, driver updates, and vulnerability scanning leads us to the third point. Track and manage, log, erase, or wipe mobile assets remotely. So if your workforce is getting more and more mobile, your end users are anywhere in the world. They can, for example, do in the late hours a webcast for North America, and they may have a smartphone. And how often can it happen that some people have lost their phone or whatever? So you need to take immediately action to secure your business data. So what we can see here is an Android smartphone. It has a personal container, so it's a BYOD device, and it's a work container. So of course, the end user has access to all his work emails, Teams chats, OneDrive files, and whatnot. Everything has been configured automatically over modern management policies. So there's a work container on a private device having encrypted data. Now your end user was lazy, and at minimum you required a 4-digit PIN code, and of course the PIN code is 4 times 0. So he's panicking, he's calling you, and he wants you to remove the company data on that phone. Very easy when you have a KACE solution. So you can simply go to your modern device manager, and you will find your smartphone here. You can see if it's compliant or not. You can see what data is missing, which is it assigned to, and what for labels it's falling to. You could even manage that device, and if you want to, add some business relevance app to that machine by searching the catalog and pushing that to the device. But if it's lost, you want to remove all the data. So you can click on More Action and click on Unenroll Device. Let's see how fast that is. Unenroll device. Confirm. And normally it just takes seconds. There it is. There was already the command has been succeeded. The work profile has been deleted, and there's no business data available on the phone anymore. That's how quick you can erase data from your traveling users. Same can be done for Windows machines. So of course you can click on Windows machine, which is, for example, fully Azure AD joined, used Autopilot for enrollment. You can click on More Action, Unenroll, or Factory is the reset. So the whole Windows system will reset the factory defaults, will fall into the new Autopilot setting, and the theft can't use any data. Of course, it is encrypted and everything, but a factory reset gives yourself a good feeling. Remember, there's a Q&A section. Feel free to ask any questions which might come up to our solution. Step number 4, automate system re-imaging, redeployment if there's suspicion of infection. So for that, we need a few more minutes, but we are good timing-wise. So re-imaging, redeployment. There are two different ways, like I said before, and the first way is a traditional management. Traditional means you've got an on-premise of course, an on-premise office, but you've got an on-premise scenario, maybe multiple sites, and you want to automate a clean wipe installation of, for example, Windows or Linux. With our system deployments appliance, you can do exactly these things. This appliance is running in Hyper-V, VMware, Nutanix on-premise, and it will bring up a TFTP server. You just need to link your DHCP server to that appliance, and it offers a boot environment where you can do automated installations. It's synchronized through all your locations, and you can create very easily deployments. There are two main ways to do that. There's a system image and a scripted installation. A system image is a capture of a prepared virtual machine, for example. So you need to run a sysprep, which is generalizing the image. You're making a whole copy of the complete partition, and all your settings and applications will be captured, and you can redeploy that image. An image is very good if you want to do multicasting, for example, more than 10 devices at the same time. So you've got one data stream from your appliance over your access layer switches in the server room to your core layer switches to the access layer of your classroom, of your lab, or of the IT department where all the new machines are standing. And your switches definitely need to support that. If you do not need this multicasting feature, I personally recommend scripted installation. You see, I'm using that a lot because it's so easy to create and maintain. You just need to enter a name. You select your source media like Windows 21H2, for example. Select the ISO file, click Next. You've got three options. I want to sit in front of that and waste my time and click through the installation. I've already an answer file, so I can upload one, or you can use the same one I am always using, which is more or minus saying, I have no idea what to do, please give me an assistant. And this assistant is giving you every question you need to answer to have a fully automated installation. Click Next, Next, Save, and you will end up in a scripted installation looking like that. 21H2, here we are. Or let's take an older one, 21H1, Professional. So you see it has a name, a source media. It has the answer file automatically created by the assistant. And we've got an installation plan. The installation plan is always the same. It can be used for system images or script-based installation. It has a pre-installation phase where we're formatting the disks. It has the installation phase where we either copy the image or the script installation files. Then we've got mid-level tasks where we can manipulate the freshly copied file, like setting a host name. Then we are rebooting our freshly installed machine the first time, where all the drivers getting initialized and so on. And then we've got post-installation tasks. We can do different things like installing Google Chrome or drag and drop an Office 365 installation to that plan. The beauty of scripted installations is if there's a new build version of Windows, you can simply duplicate that one, choose your new ISO file, click Save, and you're good to test that. Of course, you need to read some TechNet articles if something has changed in the unattended file, but that's it with the migration. And you see, I'm doing that since 1607. And the same look and feel, by the way, for Ubuntu. So you can choose Action New, select an Ubuntu ISO file. Let's do that real quick. Click Next. Ask for an assistant, either a server installation with just a root password or a desktop installation with some settings. If you want now to do an installation, let me delete that real quick. We can set so-called automated deployments. So we are setting up an automated deployment, calling that Windows 10 install from our main appliance or an offsite appliance using the 21H1 Professional at next boot or at a specific time as a unicast to my demo client number 2. Click Save, and that installation has been saved. The only thing you need to do, let me hide my desktop icons real quick. Oh no, let me just put the browser over it. Here's the demo client 2 appearing from another screen. And the only thing I need to do is click on play, press F12 for having a network boot, course, you can pre-configure the BIOSes or order devices that the BIOS is pre-configured, and the Pixie boot will look to the DHCP server, getting all the necessary options. The KACE appliance will then say, oh, this MAC address has an automated installation task. It will boot up a small environment and will start the automated installation. You do not need to do anything or even be in front of that machine if everything is automated. Of course, the boot environment is highly customized, so you can add your own wallpapers there to have corporate identity. There are diagnosis tools available, so you can manipulate the registry, open up a text editor, or even add your own tools. For example, if you want to do a specific disk unencryption or whatever. Also, we can add external boot environments. So, for example, you can add an Hiren's boot CD or something like that into our ecosystem and boot these kind of ISO files as well. What I've totally forgotten is that if you're working with system images, these system images can be pulled down to a USB stick. So you can create a USB stick installation and add all the drivers. About drivers, you do not need to worry at all. We've got a beautiful driver feed here. Sorry, here is. And this driver feed gives you drivers for multiple vendors. So there are some driver feeds settings. You can enable them. You can automatically download them. And you can search for your models and vendors. You can simply click on these models and vendors and say download them. So the appliance will keep them up to date, will have a share created for you. And whenever you install a machine, for example, Dell, Windows 10 x64, Latitude 3390, 2-in-1, then it will create a path out of that. We will do a WMI detection, and the drivers will be implemented automatically. As you can see in the background, the task has been started successfully. So while sitting in front of the screen, you will see a live status where you are. You can remote into that system. So we are installing a VNZ server into our boot environment. So you can remote into that and have a live feed while sitting on your desk. Or you can even watch the progress from our web interface. So you can click on automated or manual deployments, find your deployment here. You will see that it's currently running on one machine, and you see the live status here. Remember, if there are any questions, use the chat box, Q&A section, and we will cover all your questions later on. Of course, there's another way of doing that. So this is traditional, on-premise. There's another way, calling Autopilot. So for Autopilot, you need to have Azure Active Directory in the Premium Edition, and you can link your Azure Active Directory to our KACE Cloud solution. And then you can link your devices to your Azure AD tenant by running a PowerShell script, exporting a CSV, and uploading that CSV to your Microsoft Business Store, or ordering new devices over an authenticated reseller, which is linking these devices directly to your Azure AD. You just need to provide your Azure AD IDs to that vendor. So how does that look like? For those of you who've never seen that, you as an admin have not to touch these devices. You can enjoy your time. You can order a machine, deliver it to your end user. The end user has the fun of unboxing the brand new machine, have the smell of a brand new machine, turning it on the first time. And of course, Microsoft is asking you in which country you are. Of course, you're selecting Germany. And of course, you're very annoyed that when you select Germany, that not the German keyboard layout will be the first one suggested to you. And you need to scroll to find your local keyboard layout. If the machine is letting you selecting the keyboard layout, there it is, and you was annoyed enough finding your local keyboard layout, you click on yes. You do not want to add a second keyboard layout. The machine is reaching out to the internet, so it may be that it's asking for Wi-Fi as well. In this case, a virtual network cable is plugged in, so the device will reach out to the Microsoft servers, will find that it's connected to an Autopilot enrollment. It will check for operating system updates, and let's hope that there are no updates. If there are updates, the machine is downloading it right now and doing a small reboot to have the latest out-of-the-box experience. If there's no update, it will download the company settings and show you a customized login screen. So the customized login screen is the login screen of your Azure Active Directory, and you can add two-factor authentication, you can add password hints and whatnot. So in my environment, there should be a login screen telling you something about the company globase.de, which is my test tenant for global KACE. And you see the machine doesn't even allow you to set up local usernames, passwords. It says you need to connect to your work or school account, and you need to sign in with your Globase email address, and it's giving you the hint first name at globase.de. And there's a hint down here, please use your Globase email as a username. So creative as I am, I used timo@globase.de. Click next, and of course, the end user needs to know his password. If the user can do these two things, the enrollment is done. There are a few extra steps coming now in, like you need to accept the terms of use. The terms of use can have a company logo and a customized text. So this is the company logo I've embedded, and this is the customized text. Click on accept, and that's it. The enrollment is more or minor done, and from now on there will be just Microsoft security defaults. So for example, we'll be asked to use our second factor to really prove that we are who we are. We can, or we should set up Windows Halo because I haven't disabled that in my Azure AD. So this is all Microsoft toolkits then in the background kicking in. And if all that happens, the user should automatically log in, have an environment ready, and the machine is connected to our modern management. So this machine is doing a traditional on-premise domain join, getting the traditional management agent. This machine is doing an Azure Active Directory join using APIs for the management with KACE Cloud. Both of the machines will be co-managed. So the modern managed Autopilot machine will get the KACE traditional agent pushed over modern management policies, and the traditional enrolled machine will using the Microsoft tools to be a hybrid managed machine from an Azure AD perspective. And over the Azure AD policies, it's automatically enrolled to KACE Cloud again. So you've got for both machines, modern and traditional endpoint management, which we call unified endpoint management, co-management. Whatever you call it, you've got the best of both worlds, modern and traditional, modern APIs, traditional agent installations. Once again, if there are any questions, feel free to put them into the chat box. So let's give them the machines a few minutes here. Otherwise, if I do other things, my laptop will explode. So now would be a good time, if you have a question on your mind, to type that in. You see that in the background, we should already see in our MDM solution that there's something happening. So let's see, devices. Let's refresh the page. I haven't seen it yet. There it is. It's getting a custom name at first. So you will see it's linked, it's in compliance, and you will see the informations down here. You will see that the machine has not been falling into any labels yet. It is just a Windows-based machine, no policies enabled, and all these things will change after the first inventory. So we are getting that a few seconds here. Let me quickly remove that filter. Reset filters. My web browser seems to hang. So here it is. Here's the desktop. Weird name will be changed over policies. It's assigned to Timo Weberskirch with his email address. You see some security details and no associated labels currently. In the background, we need to set up Windows Halo. Sorry for that. My security defaults, I have changed them in Azure AD. Of course, all these spinning circles are not good for a demo, but necessary. So let's see, normally the device should ask for my second factor. Here we are. So I'm approving that on my smartphone, saying hi to Face ID, smiling very well. Here we are. So I've proved that I am who I said I am. And now we should add some Windows Halo pin codes here. So set up a pin, let's be creative. My birthday. So, okay. And that's it. Now the user profile is enrolled and the machine is ready to use. No IT administrator interaction needed. As you can see, compared of the timing, on the left hand, we are doing a total formatting of the hard disk, reinstalling the operating system. On the right hand, modern management, we are using what's already on the system and just configuring it the way over cloud services as we need it. Of course, the installation on the left hand normally is way faster, but my laptop is dying in the back end. So the installation should progress very well here. As you can see, the machine is more or minor empty, nothing on it. And if we click on settings, you can see that within accounts, access work or school, the machine is connected to Azure AD and it's managed by our Quest solution and it's our KACE cloud. So very soon after the first synchronization has been done, it can take up a few minutes till the inventory has been processed and done. Hopefully I get it just in time. You will see that it's falling into labels. And based on labels, we'll do different configurations like installing apps and pushing Wi-Fi's and apps and whatnot. So hopefully I'm getting that real quick. I'm trying to force that, but unfortunately my devices do not like that. So maybe we'll see that in a minute, but you should see that automatically there are coming settings to that machine and getting configured. With a view on the timing, I'm jumping to the next step. So the next step would be implementing security policies like BitLocker, Firewall, and antivirus. So with modern management, you can do all that with ease. So we've got a library and we've got a security part in that library. Of course, there are many other things also coming into a security play like VPN, passcode role restrictions, all kind of security. But if you go to security, you will find BitLocker configurations, Firewall, macOS, Windows Firewall, and Windows Firewall rule sets. So when you want to create a BitLocker policy, you can simply enter a name and configure how these should happen. So you can configure your S drives, fixed drive, removable drives, and all that can be very easily configured. What would be before that? Group policies, which might not synchronize, PowerShell scripts with some execution policies and whatnot, and so on and so on. So it's really handy to do that. Same for Windows Firewall rule sets. So you simply enter a name and create a rule set as you wish to. You can add any rules you would normally find on a local machine. Also, we are integrating with the Defender on the system. You can see if there are any issues on the machine. Were there any founds? You can do Defender scans, update Defender signatures. You will see quick information down here. And as you see, the machine has finally fallen into these labels, and you can now see the compliance. There should be now apps installed. There should be a BitLocker configuration, an Office getting pushed over the content delivery network, and all my custom CSPs, which are replacing the GPOs, are coming into place. Renaming the computer, setting a local admin, adding some system settings, Windows update policy, everything will be configured. And you can see that on the machine as well. So let's see if it already happened. Not yet, but we will see the apps coming in here really quick. And you can see all the applied settings in the system where we were just before. All access work or school. Information. Not yet there. So it just takes a second. Like I said, my laptop is dying in the background. Sorry for that. But it will give you all the information needed. All these security things are nice on a modern management way, just as an outlook here. So for example, if you're using BitLocker configuration or modern management, it doesn't need to be a fully Azure AD joint device. It can be a hybrid Azure AD joint device. So also my demo client 2 will getting into that stage. You see it was here before. My demo client 1 is also here. Demo client 2 is the old entry, will become in here as well. You see that we are reporting back the compliance status to Azure AD. So you can work with things like conditional access or whatever for securing your application, your modern applications. And if you go to the properties of these machines, you can also see the recovery keys here. So fully implemented modern management security tools. Fully automated, as Ken said, to have all your endpoints secure and safe and that you have good sleep at night. With a look on the time, I'm done with my demonstration here. Let's have a real quick look if that has been changed. If not, once again, sorry that my machine is dying. Not yet there. So maybe we'll have a short look at this later on. At that moment, I'm stopping my screen share and I'm trying to bring up our placeholder slide for the questions. Hopefully
So,
that
Timo,
works.
I can read them to you if you like, Timo. I answered most of them, but there's 3 that I thought would be better for you to answer. The first one is, does rooted refer to a rooted mobile device or a PC with a rootkit malware?
In fact, the first one. So rooted means it's a rooted mobile device. So if someone tries to open up the vendor default operating system, implementing a sideload app store or similar, where we just can't trust the device anymore. And actually, it's a good question to bring up with the screen share again. Sorry for that back and forth here. Let's see if you can see my screen once again. So I have actually done that within my policies. So all my sales user mobile getting a policy with 4 apps, 3 restriction sets, 1 VPN, and so on. And you see it's only for device users with global KACE, sales, and Android or iOS. If I now want to be sure that the device is not being rooted with side loading or whatever, I can go into my library, labels, global sales user mobile. It did this one, and add as a filter, rooted is no. Save that one. And the benefit of that is if anything of these filters changing, so for example, if we look back to my policy here, now that says it doesn't, or it should not be rooted. If it's getting rooted, or if the user is changing from sales to a technician department, all these settings will be dropped from the device and new settings will be applied. So of course, if he's moving to a technician department, other apps, for example, would be deployed. If it's rooted, maybe no other policy will be in place, and all the apps, Outlook, all the data will be removed from that machine. I hope that answers the question.
That's great, Timo. Thank you. I have another question for you here. How does KACE support servers with proprietary operating systems like EMC, Netapp, or IBM?
Very good questions, and I must say I haven't seen EMC, NetApps, or IBM ICE in a production environment myself for a long time. Our agent in general is available for Windows, Mac, Linux, and Raspberry, and we've got some generic binaries available for our customers to self-compile the agent. So if EMC, NetApp, or IBM I, and once again, sorry, I do not know these systems because I just do not work with them, but if these settings allow you to install a self-compiled agent, then you can install this agent and the machine will report that inventory. You may be able to run scripts and doing patching on these machines. So it really comes down of what the operating system on these machines allows you to do with it. In the very worst case, we can just read out informations over our detection plans like you have seen with my QNAP NAS. So you can create a discovery schedule, and these discovery schedules support different protocols like WinRM, SSH, SNMP, and then you can create MIPS and get data from that machines, put them at least into your asset management, compare that to your other servers when it comes to firmware, uptimes, or whatever. So sorry to be not that specific on that question. It's just because I do not know these EMC, Netapps, or IBM I machines personally.
Great, thanks, Timo. Next question is, how important is zero trust, and where might it fit in the KACE approach to combating endpoint cybersecurity issues?
Yeah. So how important zero trust is, it's the gold standard when it comes to security, right? I wouldn't give someone my credit card if I do not trust him. So for example, I wouldn't send my wife to a shopping tour with my credit card. Same for devices. Zero trust for devices, there are different approaches. So some tools offer zero trust for devices while they are saying, if it's not compliant, it doesn't get network access. If it's not compliant, we do block certain applications. So for example, it needs to prove a compliance status to access Exchange Online. The zero trust thing originally, as far as I know, comes from the end users. So you do not trust your end users by default, and before an end user can log into an application and access the data and download it to a device, needs to prove a second factor or needs to be on a device with a compliance state. So for example, if you use Azure AD as an identity provider, you can work with conditional access, which is more or minor a zero trust scenario. Without being an Azure salesman, without being an Azure certified expert, just as an example, you can click on Azure, conditional access, create a new policy here, and say, I want to secure my apps with zero trust. For example, I want to say the whole Exchange Online or OneDrive or whatever should be secured, and we are only allowing devices, where the filter is true. So the property needs to be is compliant equals true. Save that, and now you're trusting only devices which have a compliance status in Azure AD to access Exchange. So yeah, it's a very good tool, this zero trusting, but it's really how you define it and how you want to do that, either from a user-centric way, from a device-centric way, both is possible. And like I said, we are integrating into Azure AD with our compliance state on Windows machines, and the Windows machines can then be trusted only if they are compliant. Really good question, by the way.
There's a lot of good questions here. Let's see here. The next one, there's one that's been here for a while. This one may be something where I can separately, well, how does Quest solve inherent security vulnerabilities present in SQL databases? I'm going to answer that one separately with another business unit here at KACE that can help you with that one. But here's something I think is more germane to this conversation. Sorry if I missed it, but if we're deploying Windows patches via SMA already, and we were to add MDM into the mix, would it need both the SMA agent and an MDM agent on those endpoints?
No, there's actually no MDM agent. So we are using the vendor-built APIs to actually configure and send settings to that machine. So for example, if we look to the libraries, to the custom profiles here, Windows Update settings, what you can configure here with that CSP, the configuration service provider, is that the built-in Windows Update feature is set to manual. So the machine will not automatically search for updates and install updates as available to not harm your machine because someone, Microsoft, did something bad with their patch development. So you can fully trust on your SMA agent to deploy only validated patches after your pilot group already got these patches for, let's say, 4 days. And on the 5th day, you're deploying that to your production group. And you can be sure that your modern management CSP has set Windows Update to disable or manual or whatever. And this CSPs will touch any devices out in the world without the need of creating registry keys, disabling services, or whatever. So the MDM really is a modern management approach without an agent, using built-in system APIs to configure and deploy settings to it.
Good answer. Good question. I think we have time for one more. Put your GDPR hat on. Is there specific consent?
All right.
Is there specific consent required to use employee behavior to calculate behavioral baselines? How does Quest address privacy concerns with observing and leveraging employee behavior?
Wow. All right. So in general, if you are observing your behavior of your employees, this is something which needs to be discussed with your employees, with your C-levels, with your HR department. Here in Germany, that would be an absolutely no-go, and you can pack your things if you do that. Of course, there are ways and also business interests to do that. So for example, with the management appliance and traditional agent, we've got this beautiful software catalog where you can track the usage of expensive software like VMware Fusion. And if you want to know if Timo has done his demo today very well, you can look into the Fusion software catalog entry and see that he has used it at least in the last day, and that he's used several hours with different launches over the last week, months, and so on. So you can collect a lot of data and information here. From a GDPR perspective, from an employee security perspective, you need to communicate these things. You need to set up policies for yourself in place. You need to have role-based access to these machines so that just a few people can see that. And you need to have a data retention so that the data is getting deleted if it's not needed anymore. That's the baseline of GDPR. You can save everything as long as you have a reason for that it's documented anywhere, and it's getting deleted if it's not used anymore. That's GDPR in a nutshell, as far as I would describe it. So if you can fulfill these things, you're very happy to use all the user-centric, user analytics we can give you.
That's great, Timo. Appreciate it. I think we're getting towards the end now. So what I'd like to do is, first of all, invite anybody who has any further questions to go to our website, quest.com/case. That's KACE. So Quest, QUEST.com/case, KACE. And I'd like to invite you to join, look at our solution pages or product pages, and there's plenty of ways that you can ask questions there as well. I'm going to continue answering as many questions as I can in the chat as we wind up here.
Okay. Well, super, Timo and Ken. Great presentation, great demo, and thanks for the info. And as you can all see here, there's a couple of QR codes for contacting Ken and Timo there. So if you've got your phone handy, you can grab those. And Ken and Timo, I just want to thank you guys for putting together this this really informative presentation, and for being here, and for all your answers in the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great job. Appreciate it. And Timo, thank you.
Thank you for having me and listening to me.
And as we wrap up here, we have one more piece of business. It's the $300 Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of the prize drawing today is Hong Yim from California. So congratulations to Hong Yim. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Quest for making this event possible. And thanks as always to everyone for attending and for all those great questions. That's going to conclude today's event. Have a great rest of your day.